Órale. Arriba la raza. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Oh, no, wait. That was Christmas. Anyway, I'm back. I feel well enough to do a review. And we about to have fun with this AEW show. Because somebody's got to. And I'm still alive. And it didn't feel like I was going to make it the last couple of days. But hey, I'm here. So, let's go ahead and knock this thing out. First news and notes are your boy FTR Bald, a.k.a. Dax Harwood, started up himself a podcast. Episode 1 was about CM Punk. And everything, it seemed like every news tidbit that came out of this podcast tightened buttholes and got people very, very upset. First, he said very nice things about CM Punk, which led to so many people, some of whom were anti-CM Punk maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying, you know what? I forgive him. I forgive you, Punk. Please come back. Please come back. We need you. We want you so badly. We want you back. It's like, okay. Well, anyway, what FTR Ball decided to say was that he hopes that the 4 guys, meaning the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and CM Punk, can make this thing work and CM Punk could come back. I don't know about that. A man supposedly got bitten. Another man got hit with a chair. These guys had themselves a Waffle House brawl backstage at a pay-per-view. I'm not so sure if that man's going to be in a rush to come back. Besides, I think the guy's foot still broke. I mean, it is what it is. But FTR guy is at least saying he wants everybody to kiss and make up and be friends again. He then threw Jungle Boy under the bus by saying, well, he wasn't going to be happy that we was coming in. I was like, oh, really? that wasn't very nice of you. that was a funny one. I thought that was humorous. He then pissed off all of the AEW fans by saying he likes Jim Cornette, and you kind of have to filter out some of Jim Cornette's. You have to filter out some of the eccentricities. He's eccentric. You have to filter out some of the weirdness. All right, lisp is just not going anywhere. Which of course pissed so many people off, because how dare he cape for Jim Cornette? Oh my God. There were so many people saying that Jim Cornette is a racist. He's a homophobe. Weird thing. He's racist for calling them Japanese schoolgirls. Oddly enough, Maki Ito wears a schoolgirl outfit. I mean, one of them calls herself the magical girl. She's dressed like a genie. And come on, they do it to themselves. It's racism, but they do it to themselves. I mean, very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. But it's been entertaining watching people have meltdowns on Twitter about every other thing that came out of this podcast. Apparently nobody listened to the whole thing. I know I didn't. But it seemed like every time there was a snippet out, just a little bit of a tidbit that came out, people needed to respond to it and got very upset. Very, very upset. And I say, oh, is that what this podcast is going to be now? As a matter of fact, brothers and sisters, I may ask you, what is the benefit of doing this podcast right now while you're still working in AEW? And yeah, you could put out, because he's giving out backstage dirt about how guys don't get along. He's talking about how he also had his problems with Hangman Page and the Young Bucks and all these guys. And I'm like, we were told it's been nothing but smooth sailing. Nobody has any problems with anybody backstage in AEW, baby. It was all Mr. CM Punk. He was the problem, brother. And then we find out it wasn't just him. They had a problem anytime somebody new came in. There was an issue. I was like, wait, you're making the locker room sound kind of skittish, making them sound a little childish. And I get that he's trying to say all these things were in the past and we're all good now. But there's going to constantly be new people coming in. You know, he did literally one episode of this podcast and it's already got people very upset. And some people have said that FTR is when they were out of AEW. That's why he's doing this. But does it really make a difference? You know, doesn't make a difference to me. But I'm watching the crazy thing is he's doing this podcast by himself. So his tag team partner is just kind of sitting there like, oh, we got heat again. Thanks. You know, thanks a lot for that, Dax. You know, now we got heat again. You know, we were trying to get out of the doghouse. Then you had to go out here and say nice things about CM Punk. Then you had to go and kind of throw a little bit of shade at Jungle Boy. Then you had to go out here and talk about how much we like Jim Cornette. Now look, they already knew he was like Jim Cornette because he was on Jim Cornette's podcast. What was it, like a year or so ago? Around the time they first came in, when they left WWE. They did the Jim Cornette podcast. So anybody who's sort of, oh, I can't believe he's a fan of Jim Cornette. Like, bro, where you been? They was in that podcast 2 or 3 years ago, bro. That's a long dead. That's a long dead beef. We already knew he liked Jim Cornette, and we knew that his opinion of him won't change. The crazy thing is, so many people are like, oh, Dax is selfish. Jim Cornette likes him in his matches. Therefore, he must ignore all of the browbeating he does to all of his locker room mates or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, it's so dramatic. Please shut the fuck up. It's okay for a guy to not like the same things that you like. All right? For Christ on a cracker. You're not going to burst into flames. Nothing's going to happen to Maki Ito because Jim Cornette doesn't like her. Trust me. All right? She's going to be fine because she's going to be okay. All right. We might get into a little bit more of the detail some other time. I don't have time to do detail right now. Just a couple of things that popped up from this podcast since I started paying attention to it, since I had my eyes open. Since I've been able to open my eyes, actually. All right. So, Jim Cornette, to continue that, him and his boy, Brian Last, they got into a little bit of a tiff with your guy, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho says on Twitter, ugh, you and at Brian Last have figured out my evil plan. I can't wait to bury Ricky Starks, Action Andretti, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Sting, and every other young talent in AEW so I can achieve my goal of killing the company. But don't tell anybody. It's our little secret. Brian Last then responded by saying, look at the confidence one gets from a special relationship with Mega and a contract guaranteed by Tony's dad. There is no more self-serving wrestler than Jericho. He latches onto people with buzz, and by the end, their buzz is gone. People used to say that about John Cena, that John Cena was sort of a clout vampire. That John Cena, whenever somebody was getting over, John Cena would get in the picture, and all of a sudden, like he did it to Crime Time and Zack Ryder, and as if they were actually going anywhere. Crime Time was never going anywhere. Zack Ryder was never going anywhere. I mean, people can fool themselves into thinking that was going to be something. It wasn't. Trust me. John Cena was going to be just fine. He was trying to help them. It's not, well, it kind of is his fault for trying to help them. Maybe he should have just let them flounder on their own and then fizzle out on their own rather than trying to be there and help them get over. In any event, Chris Jericho, I know that Jim Cornette and Brian Last, they politically don't like Chris Jericho. So that's why they take in this position that Jericho is out to get everybody. It's all politics. If Jericho wasn't a Trump supporter, they would tell it like it really is. Jericho is at the end of his career, near the end anyway. And he's doing what he can to get people over. Chris Jericho has been doing this his entire career. He has been, find a young guy who's got some kind of potential, work with them, see what you can get out of them. 90% of the time, Jericho ends up doing the job. It doesn't hurt him because he's Chris Jericho, so you can beat him 100 times and it doesn't matter. I mean, he did that job for Orange Cassidy. He did like 2 or 3 jobs for Orange Cassidy. People forgot about it because Orange Cassidy couldn't maintain it. You know, it happens. Like, he did the job for Fandango. It didn't mean anything because Fandango couldn't maintain it. It happens. Jericho's been doing these jobs for guys like Shelton Benjamin and Christian and now Action Android. He's been doing this shit his entire career. He didn't just start doing this when he went to AEW. Jericho is in fact, one of the most selfless wrestlers in the business by taking his precious time, the few years he's got left, and actually taking it and trying to help younger talent. The only way you can do it is by getting into feuds with them, putting them in top spots, putting them under pressure. It's the only chance that they've got to break out of the pack. Some guys are not going to be that good. And maybe Jericho made a mistake, sometimes. And maybe Jericho shouldn't have won some of these matches that he did win. But I could tell you, he's not doing this to kill anybody's heat or anything like that. If the guy's any good, Jericho can't kill his heat anyway. Okay? Remember, Jericho is one of the first guys Vince threw John Cena in the ring with when he won the title. It was Bradshaw first, and then he moved him to Raw. The first guy he threw him in there with was Jericho. Or it might have been second, maybe after Kurt Angle. But ultimately, Jericho knows what he's doing. All right? Now, maybe Jericho's ideas, unfiltered, are probably not the best ideas. I can admit that. Some of his ideas are not that great. But I don't think he's maliciously out there trying to steal anybody's heat or steal anybody's overness. It's not his fault if they cannot maintain the momentum that he helps them get. Or even he say, well, they got the momentum on their own. They still need somebody to work with. And if Jericho says, look, I'll be the guy, because Kenny Omega's not going to do it. CM Punk's not going to do it. Fucking nobody else is going to do it. Who else is going to do it? Who else do you got that's super over in your locker room that mainstream audiences would know, that anybody who cares about what's going on national television would know, and that is willing to go out there and put their body on the line against a young guy? Danielson? He's about the only other guy. Who else you got? Who else you got? Nobody else. So Jericho being the guy. If Ricky Starks can't work with Chris Jericho, who is he going to work with? He's going to keep losing to MJF? Is that the goal, to keep having MJF beat him? You have to think about this stuff in a little bit of a different way. Ricky Starks is over because Ricky Starks can talk and he has charisma. That's not going to go away whether he's feuding with Jericho or not. The hope is that we can get more out of Ricky Starks while he, as a Band-Aid, because he's not going back to this feud with MJF, apparently. MJF is moving on. So he needs somebody to feud with. And you put him in there with Danielson, or you put him in there with Moxley or somebody like that, the chances of him actually losing the match goes up, which actually could damage his brand a little bit more than you would think. AEW makes fatal mistakes. Okay? Not being able to capitalize on people is a huge mistake. Look at what they did to Wardlow. Look at what they got a second chance with Hook. All right? But they are routinely getting people to a peak and then just saying, don't know what to do. Just keep having them beat jobbers. And then hopefully that will maintain their overness. And then people lose interest. They end up on Rampage. They end up on Dark. And then you have to work all the way back. Jericho is trying to maintain this. He's trying to say, when this is all said and done, that he did everything that he could to try to help elevate as many people as he possibly could. And yes, that does mean he's going to have to win sometimes. Do I think he's going to beat Ricky Starks, though? No, I don't. I don't believe that at all. Okay? I mean, they just did there was just a news story recently that TBS didn't want Jericho on the Ring of Honor show. They didn't want him to be the Ring of Honor champion, to main event that pay-per-view. And Tony Khan kind of went in there and smoothed it over. Like, look, we kind of got to do this. Because, Jericho is a guy that Tony Khan trusts. If rightfully so. Jericho has been in this position for a long, long time, since at least 2004, 2005. So all of the hate that Cornette and all of these guys are dumping on Jericho, man, stop it. You know, cut it out. I don't think everything Jericho does is great. A lot of his stuff is flaw, but it's coming from a good place. And just because the guy's a Trump supporter doesn't mean he's out here trying to fuck over all of your young guys. It's not real. It's just Cornette experience lore. It's bullshit. All right. If he didn't know about all the Jericho's politics stuff, they wouldn't even be thinking that shit. They think negatively about him because they don't like him. They don't like his politics. I can see through that, and I'm pretty sure everybody else can too. All right. What else is there before we get into the show? Okay, so New Year, New Dynamite. As some people have noticed, it looks like Survivor Series. Looks a lot like Main Event. Even has the WWE colors, the red and the blue. I remember when NXT 2.0 first changed their colors and they did like the splash paint. And everybody said, "Oh, that looks a lot like Dynamite." Dynamite did the splash paint. And I was kind of like, well, you kind of got a point there. But everybody's acting like, whoa, WWE doesn't own the colors red and blue. Like, come on. The idea is clearly to confuse people and make people think that it's a WWE program by having the red and the blue lasers. You could have kept the purple lasers, or what was the Rampage? Was the orange and yellow kind of lightning bolts or whatever. You could have kept all that shit. You could have kept the color scheme that way. You changed it for a reason. You chose these colors for a reason. I'm not pissed off about it or anything. It's just you can't unsee it. You've seen it. You can't unsee it. So it is what it is. I think we're done here with news and notes, right? I can't think of anything right now. Well, if something else pops up as I go through this, we'll talk about it. All right. So Bryan Danielson versus Ethan Page. This match was 20 minutes and some change. I wanted to run my head against the wall. I cannot believe Ethan Page ate up 20 minutes of my Wednesday night. My precious Wednesday night that I cherish. I cherish the time that I have. Ethan Page walked away today with 20 of my minutes. I will beat his ass to get him back. But it will do me no good because you can't get time back. He stole 20 minutes from me, from you, from probably 900,000 other people. Stole 20 minutes. He's a fucking thief. I cannot believe Tony Khan, in his right mind, if he is, it must have been too many White Claws and weed, booked the most boring son of a bitch on his roster for 20 minutes against Bryan Danielson. Please stop the pain. Anyway, MJF was up in the skybox. He's with a chick who looks like Shotzi. I was like, why is Shotzi up there? I looked on Twitter because I know all the nerds. They know who she is. It's some chick by the name of Daddy Doom. Yes, a young lady who calls herself Daddy Doom. And she is a dominatrix. Or she does a dominatrix gimmick. And I say, why would MJF want to be seen in public with a goth girl who does a dominatrix gimmick? Is that really the angle we want to go with that character? Is she putting stuff in his butt? I don't know. Is she like tying this guy up? He's wearing a gimp mask, in his spare time. Why couldn't he find a traditionally beautiful woman that would actually fit his character? Why did he go and get this broad? I'm not saying that the broad is ugly. I ain't saying that. I'm just saying, why her? That's what I want to know. Why her? Why a girl who calls herself Daddy? I don't know. I don't get it. I'm more frustrated by this whole Ethan Page thing. Danielson wins the match with the Regal stretch. So I hope he's going to start using the Regal stretch now. Okay, great. Don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. Then AEW got me genuinely excited. I was genuinely interested. They did a Wardlow Samoa Joe recap vignette where Joe talking about being a hunter and how he studies his game, and basically that tag team that they were in was a way of studying Wardlow, and that Wardlow simply doesn't do his homework. So Wardlow is about to do a promo backstage, and he's talking about how there's too many words in this feud. And then Joe comes out of nowhere and Nancy Kerrigan on goddamn Wardlow and hit him in the knee with a pipe and started screaming at him, "I did this to you." And I was like, "Oh, Samoa Joe, you dirty bastard. You're actually going to make me interested in this, huh?" Yeah, I hate that they didn't milk it by doing like the trainers and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm going to give them a plus for actually building up their main event and, you know, building some intrigue into that main event and actually building a way of, you know, an out for the main event. So, Wardlow versus Samoa Joe, TNT Championship. Samoa Joe comes out, says that Wardlow has stage fright, and that, so, he cuts down the Denver Broncos a little bit, because I guess they're in Colorado. Wardlow then marches his way to the ring, pushing the medical staff out of the way. Then they decide to go hard. You know, they're laying in the chops, and this seems like Wardlow's most serious match since his push began. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is what Wardlow needs. He needs to be tested. He needs to be pushed. He's needed this for a while. He gets the power bomb on Joe. You know, of course, Joe is working the knee. You know, Wardlow selling the knee. Yes. They're still, you know, not 100% selling the knee. There's the occasional Wardlow is running or Wardlow is jumping. I mean, we just got to accept that kind of shit, right? So he gets the power bomb. Okay, Joe was on the top rope. He got up underneath them and power bombed him. So then he goes for the second power bomb. His knee gives out. Then Joe chop blocks him in the knee and puts him in the coquina clutch. And Wardlow is choked out. And I instantly was like, that's not going to do Wardlow any good. You know, he probably should have won this match. I don't know, man. He probably should have won this match, but okay, let's see where it goes. So after the match, Wardlow is fighting to get back to his feet, and Samoa Joe then just blasts him in the head with the championship belt. And I was like, wow, that's tough. That's tough. He goes outside the ring, gets a toolbox, gets back in the ring, then headbutts the ref. I'm like, oh, Joe's out of control. This man's out of control. He then gets a pair of scissors, cuts Wardlow's hair, cuts his ponytail off, which, you know what? I ain't mad at you. I hate that damn ponytail. I hated it. Wasn't a big fan of the ponytail, Wardlow. I mean, you lose it. It is what it is. But, I mean, you did beat the guy. Now you're just pissing all over him. You know, you're beating, you're pissing all over him. And from the camera angles that they're taking here on this show, I'm saying to myself, hey, somebody's about to come out here and save Wardlow or stop this or what? What's about to happen? And here comes little ass Darby Allin. Little ass Darby Allin comes out there with a skateboard and hits Samoa Joe in the back with the skateboard. And Samoa Joe, of course, flees. And I said, Wardlow is what, 6'4", 250, 260 or something like that. And Samoa Joe just beat the tar out of that fucking guy. But this small framed AEW. Good Lord. Good Lord. They cannot stop with the small guys. You just cannot get... Look, Darby Allin is refried beans. This motherfucker is dead. All right? Darby Allin ain't been shit since the CM Punk match. It's been over ever since. You know? Yes, some people wanted somebody to come out there and help Wardlow. But for Christ's sake, you don't put Wardlow in that position. He's the big guy. All right? He's the big guy. Yes, you hit him in the knee with a pipe and all that shit. I get it. Yeah, you want to blast him in the head with the belt. I get that too. But you still don't see a midget out there to help him. You don't do that. Because now you make Samoa Joe look stupid. And Samoa Joe just beat the shit out of this big dude. You have to understand transitive property. All right? If people see big guy Samoa Joe need to hit bigger guy Wardlow in the knee with a pipe in order to beat him, but he's going to flee from this small man who hit him with a goddamn skateboard, instead of taking said skateboard, wrapping it around fucking Darby Allin's head, and then shoving it up his ass and then kicking him into the first row, which is what it should have been. So you go through all the effort of making Samoa Joe look like an absolute beast, humiliating Wardlow, to put over Darby Allin. Go fuck yourself. All right, moving on. Jesus H. Christ. Hangman Page. He's backstage with a fake trainer. They're doing fake concussion protocols, talking about how he's week to week and how he's so frustrated because he wants to get his hands on Moxley. He even hears that Moxley's in the next match. He's trying to get up, like, I'm going to go and get him. And the other guys are like, wait, Hangman, you can't do this. And the trainer said, maybe in 2 weeks. So that's good medical advice. Maybe in 2 weeks we'll let you have a match. We'll let you go and chase another concussion in 2 weeks. But for now, probably not. Come on. Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli beat up on Top Flight. Look, I'm about to tell you what pissed me off about this match. Look, as much as I want to like Top Flight, they always do dumb shit. Right? Dumb shit I've seen in this match that took me out of it and made me just say, both of these guys got stomped in their head and knocked out good. You got poor Darius Martin. Poor Darius Martin, he's getting elbowed into the next millennium. All right? It's going to be fucking January 2023 when this guy stops getting elbowed in his fucking head. All right? Claudio's just elbowing this fucking guy. Just elbow, elbow, elbow. His brother, light-skinned Dante, he strolls on over and just stands over Claudio while Claudio is elbowing his brother in the head. And he's standing there snorting and I'm like, boy, dude, if you're my brother and you're watching me get just fucking concussed and beat to death right in front of you, please do something. Please do something. So he decides he's going to run to the ropes first. He's standing right here. The guy's getting elbowed right in the fucking head right in front of you. You're standing literally right there. You don't do nothing. You don't even touch him. Claudio looks up at him, shrugs, and goes back to elbowing him in the fucking head. And you just say, well, I got to do something. And so you run. You run. You turn your back on your brother who is pasted and getting his fucking noggin twisted right here. You left him. That made no fucking sense. He bounces off the ropes, gets lariated by Jon Moxley. I say, fucking good. You know, you're a fucking idiot. Good. I'm glad you got knocked out. And now your brother getting stomped in the head now. You did a good job. Great tag team partner. Awesome brother. All right. This shit sucks. People do not understand basic fucking psychology. You, nobody else will be sitting here watching their own brother, unless you fucking hate the guy, get elbowed in his fucking head. Repeatedly. And the guy's not even got no defense. And he looks up at you, shrugs, and goes back to elbowing your fucking brother in the head. I was like, could you make Top Flight look either A, weaker, 2, more fucking stupid? You have to think about this. You can't continue to have performance wrestling. That's what this shit is. It's a performance. So nobody believes that Darius is in any real danger, right? We're supposed to believe that Darius is in danger, but you take me out of it, you think, oh, Darius is okay. He can take 8 more elbows to the head while you bounce off the fucking ropes. You have no sense of urgency to your brother getting his head caved in. No sense of urgency whatsoever. Why would you book these guys to do this? Why would these guys who are legitimately brothers come up with, is that something that could happen for real in your household? All right. Let's say your dad come out on the porch. Dante's standing right there and some bully is elbowing fucking Darius in the head. You think dad's gonna be like, yeah, kid, go jump off that gate first. Your dad's be like, what the fuck are you doing, you fucking idiot? Stop that guy. He's fucking killing him. Stop that. Stop it. Do something. You know, poke him in the eye or something. Do something, shit. This guy's just, get the fuck out of here. Oh, God, this is stupid. This is stupid fucking dudes, man. This is some stupid shit. Why would you book this shit? Top flight, dumbass baby faces. They both need to get thrown in a blender. Speaking of dumbass baby faces, Orange Cassidy agreed to fight his own friend. They're idiots. Who cares? Next, we got Hook versus some guy named, what's this guy's name? Balaam Lynx? Oh, goodness. Hooks beat this guy in like 3 minutes, choked him out. I like the transmission. I specifically like how Hook uses it because it actually looks like a legit submission hold. Because Taz sometimes, it did not look like the hold was even applied. So Hook infinitely does it better than this. Okay. So Stokely, Lee Moriarty, and Big Bill comes out there. And Stokely is tired of hearing about how Hook is some kind of badass. Then called him the Southwest Airlines of AEW. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Is that did that go over my head or something? That's like calling the guy the Planters Peanuts of something. Like you're the Pringles can of AEW. Like what the fuck does that mean? You're the DSW of AEW. Like what? The Bath and Body Works. Like what the fuck? What does any of this mean? Is it something in pop culture that I don't get? In any event, Jungle Boy crashes Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. They get to fighting outside the ring. Then Big Bill gets in the ring and he does a standing visual story with Hook. He's this humongous guy. I mean, he inhales more oxygen than Hook is going to take in 10 minutes. He takes in 2 breaths what Hook is going to take in 10 minutes. All right. He's just taking up all the space. The visual story is pretty simple. And Big Bill's just standing there and Hook's just standing there looking up at him. So then he grabs Hook by the throat. Just kind of grabs him by the throat. Generic grab. Just no real charisma to it or nothing. Hook then kind of pops the arm out, right? And then goes try to pick him up with a T-bone suplex. Kind of. He didn't get him off his feet before he again grabs Hook by the throat. He lifts Hook. This is all very mechanical, by the way, because we're waiting for Jungle Boy. So he lifts him up in the air. And then here comes Jungle Boy with a 2x4. Hit Big Bill in the back with it. I think he hit him 2 or 3 times. Big Bill then bails. And I just was like, what is it with these people and these fucking minis? This minis division that they've got here, where these little guys are making the big guys run. He's got a 2x4, sure, but Jungle Boy is so damn small, man. Like, why couldn't he hit me with the goddamn 2x4, I get it. That sucks. Still 6'8", wall of human muscle. Could have been able to take that damn thing and then crash it over Jungle Boy's fucking head. It's not enough. All right. It's just not enough. You're not doing enough to really get over that these guys are dealing with somebody who's twice their size. All right. You're just not doing enough. Almost having Hook take down Bill kind of deflates Bill a little bit. We're supposed to really buy into the physical story of Bill and Hook and Bill and Jungle Boy or whatever. Okay, that's easy story to tell. But he should be physically dominant over these fucking guys. They shouldn't be hitting him with fucking 2x4s. They shouldn't be almost suplexing him. That shit shouldn't even be happening. Not right now. Maybe a little bit later. All right? Maybe once, they get to stagger him by doing something else and Hook almost suplexes him, that would, be a nice little spot. And I'm guessing that's what they're kind of going to tease it to actually happen, so it'll be a big spot for Hook and he can get over. Okay. But it's pretty clear that they don't give a fuck about any of these big dudes. They don't give a fuck about none of them. Brian Cage, Wardlow, Big Bill, they don't give a fuck about none of these guys. They all look like idiots at the end of the day. They do terrible things to these fucking guys, man. They're just bases, that's all. You exist to get jumped on. That's it, You are a big whoopee cushion with a heartbeat. That's all you are. That's fucking embarrassing. And I'm, quite frankly, thinking it's hilarious. It sucked, by the way. Just in case you were confused about what my thoughts are on this, it sucked. There's a recap of Action Andretti. I almost called him Mario Andretti. Chris Jericho and Ricky Starks. Jericho talked about Ricky Starks letting down an opportunity of a lifetime. Called him a flash in the pan. Said he doesn't have all the tools to be a main event star, but he does, and he's going to embarrass Ricky Starks. Then said he doesn't want Action Andretti back in AEW, which guarantees Action Andretti will be back in AEW. It seems that AEW is going to miss the opportunity of actually playing on the sympathy card when it comes to Action Andretti. I said last week when they did the Fireball spot that there should be something where Action Andretti talks about missing Christmas and not being able to celebrate Christmas because he was in the hospital because Jericho burned his face. Now, there's still an opportunity for that because who knows how long they're going to have him sell the burnt face. Maybe he'll pop up next week and we'll get this same story. But that's the angle I would have gone with here is, maybe a medical update on Action Andretti, which, that's a basic wrestling thing. Guy gets hit with a weapon, guy gets beat up or something. Kind of get a medical update. How's the guy doing? Is he dead? Is he alive? Is he mentally fractured? What's going on here? We don't get those kind of things anymore, which you would have thought they would have gave one for Wardlow too. He got hit in the knee with a pipe. You would have got a medical update. They gave one for fucking Hangman Page. You got a medical update for him. He's doing concussion protocols and still hanging out with the Dark Order. Fuck all of that. All right, Ricky Starks cut a promo. Says he's going to get revenge for Action Andretti. Says that Chris Jericho doesn't like that he can think for himself. That he's going to take down Chris Jericho a couple of notches. Pretty pedestrian promo from Ricky Starks. It didn't really engender anything great in me. I think he needed a little bit more. He's certainly going to have to bring it next week. He's certainly going to have to bring it a little bit more. Or Jericho is going to end up stealing his heat. Okay. Let's do better than that. Okay, so we had match 6 of that 7-match fiasco between the Dark Order, not the Dark Order, the Death Triangle and the Elite. This match was Falls Count Anywhere, and the finish was that Kenny Omega uses the One-Winged Angel off of the ramp through a table. Meanwhile, one of the Young Bucks, I'm thinking it's Nick Jackson, is in the Brutalizer in the ring, and shortly after the 3 count, Nick Jackson taps out. But it was meant to be at the same time. That was the idea. They wanted us to believe that it was at the same time and that it was, which it was a buzzer beater. But in reality, they just didn't ring the bell or play the music after the 3 count that Omega hit. I of course didn't care about this. Why would I care about this? I've seen this match literally 6 times already, 8 times, 22 times already. I've just seen this match 122 times already. I don't care about these fucking guys. I don't even know if this is over anymore. Is this still for the trios belts, or this is just for shits and giggles? Because I haven't heard anything about trios belts this entire time. Whatever. Swerve is hanging out with his affiliates, the mogul affiliates. He's talking about having to replace Keith Lee because he didn't believe in his vision. But he had to go and get some guys who he does believe in his vision. Said that everybody knows who Parker is. Like, nobody knows who fucking Parker is. Please introduce that guy. And then it says that the other killer, you're going to get to learn who he is. I'm like, they don't even got a name for this fucking guy yet. They brought him out there, but he ain't got a name yet. And then out of nowhere comes the most random son of a bitch. Wheeler, Utah. Wheeler, Utah comes out there and says that, you know, the Blackpool Combat Club, and they like violence, and Mogul affiliates, they must like violence, and he was sickened by what they did to Keith Lee, and he's going to challenge Swerve to a match. And I was like, guess. It's on Rampage. Anything goes on Rampage. I don't care what you put on Rampage, bro. I'm not even going to hold you up. Matter of fact, scratch that. I do care what you put on Rampage. Because why the fuck is Kiera Hogan versus Jade Cargill on Rampage instead of on this show? See, that match has storyline attached to it, right? Why is that match happening on Rampage where it has story? It could have been used here on this show. Why highlight Jade Cargill on the show that gets the lowest audience? Why? I'll let you all think about that and figure that part out. Jamie Hayter, same thing. You know, why feature her on the show with the lowest audience? Unless you don't give a fuck. Then you probably clearly don't give a fuck. Speaking of not giving a fuck, Tay Mello and Anna Jay defeat Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho in a match I couldn't have cared less about. I couldn't have given a fuck less about this match. I don't care how cute Willow Nightingale is. I have no interest in watching Ruby Soho or Anna Jay wrestle in a match. Sorry. Pass. The Acclaimed. They did a diss record on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, which was quite brutal. And probably a little too personal. But that's the good kind. They went all in. Max Caster did a really good job here. He says that Jeff Jarrett is the worst Jeffrey since Dahmer. Worse than Epstein? I'm sorry. I would rather you scam me out of gold, scam me out of some money, than, have a worldwide pedophile ring. I'm sorry. I'm just not on that one with you, Caster. I'm sorry, brother. He said that Jeff Jarrett was stealing money like it was Kurt Angle's wife. And I can't expect anybody involved with that is happy about it. The kids, the adults. Like, I'm pretty sure Jeff is okay with most of this stuff. I mean, he's a fully grown man. But I can't imagine you would make that. And your kids are going to have to see this, okay? I'm pretty sure you don't want that. Especially, you don't want Kurt's kids. Come on. Let's just back up a little bit, Maybe that was a little too personal. Him calling Jeff Jarrett a carny, that's just right on target. I mean, yeah. Calling him a schemer and all that kind of stuff, yeah, that's perfect. That's, he called him AWS hole or something like that, or double ASS hole or something like that. Anyway, Jay Lethal got the most brutal of the bars to be easily, saying that he was the ROH's top guy from the bad years, which is tough because that was actually Matt Taven, but it works for Jay Lethal too, I guess. Says that Jay Lethal's been in the business, only known for imitating others. He's been in the business 20 years, nobody imitates him. And that he got a better elbow smash than Jay Lethal. And I was like, oof. That was really good. This is some good diss record material. I genuinely liked this diss record. This was very good. I still thought that maybe we didn't need the Karen Angle stuff. Maybe we could have pulled back a little bit on that. But genuinely speaking, I liked it. I thought this was brutal, which is what a diss record should be, and then of course, because the most useless man in wrestling, Sanjay Dutt, started this whole thing with this, with the battle rap. It's basically just retaliation by the Acclaimed. So I like this. the Acclaim, they did a good job. So ultimately, AEW, the only thing I cared about on this show was Wardlow versus Samoa Joe, clearly. And they delivered that. They did a nice little storyline going into it, but I didn't like what they did when they coming out of it. Wardlow had to come out of this thing strong, all right? Even if he didn't win, he still had to come out of this strong. If he'd have lost the match, but instead, beat the shit out of Samoa Joe, clotheslined him over the top rope, and then Joe basically, yelled at him, "I'm still the champion," and Wardlow was like, "For now," or something, and Joe kind of just got the hell out of there while, before Wardlow really ripped his arms off. That would have been fine. But ending the segment with Wardlow on his ass and Darby Allin, the one standing up holding the TNT title, you're just looking at Wardlow like, bro, this ain't happening. Because even if you want to say, well, Wardlow is a legitimate contender for MJF, you think? This guy just beat his ass and cut his fucking hair and just shit all over him. He ain't looking like a legitimate contender to anybody. He's looking like Samoa Joe's bitch. All right. As much as I did enjoy the match, I'm not gonna hold you up. I'm not gonna say the match was garbage. I just I don't like how they treated Wardlow. I don't like it. It's trash. We've been looking for Wardlow to finally break through and be a top guy. He finally gets the big match that everybody's looking forward to. Not only does he not win, he ends up looking like a fucking idiot. He ends up like a fucking skid mark. All right? I ain't never seen Samoa Joe embarrass somebody like this before. I'm sorry. He did a really bad job with this. Top Flight really pissed me off for a night. Fuck them. The Elite, they are the Elite. Fuck them forever. The Acclaim disc record was very good. Hook, it looks good as ever. He doesn't look terrible. He's just painfully skinny. Same thing with Jungle Boy. But that's the style of AEW wrestler that they like now. So, overall, look, there was too much Ethan Page on this show for me to say that it was any good. I will say that the Acclaim did a great job. Wardlow tried very hard. Samoa Joe did a great job. Everybody else will try again later. Danielson, it was Danielson, of course. Too bad he had to carry around 240 pounds of human garbage. Never, named Ethan Page. Fuck, what a useless guy. I thought he was going to be the guy from that tag team that was going to become something. I didn't expect that his partner was going to be one of the guys that became something. But I don't know. I think Impact just makes the decisions that they have to make. I think if they were still in that tag team, Ethan Page would probably still be the better of the two. But Alexander doesn't looking like a bitch every fucking week. Anyway, man, the Acclaim, the Wardlow and Joe and Danielson, man, they tried so hard. All right, we got a little bit of a hot tag segment, some breaking news. So apparently FTR have lost the AAA tag team championships to Dralistico and Dragon Lee, the brothers of Roosh. And that was a big deal. For starters, Dragon Lee fucking rules. He rules hard. And I am very excited for the Dragon Lee because Dragon Lee has now signed to WWE. Let me tell you something, that this means a lot to me as a fan of Lucha Libre, because it's been going on for about 3 or 4 years that I said that Dragon Lee has been, I don't see why he didn't get picked up by AEW. Dragon Lee is fucking good. Yes, Bandito is good. Yes, Roosh is good. Andrade is good. Yes, they are all very good. But Dragon Lee is fucking good. Now, how is his English? I don't know. I'm guessing his English is going to be as bad as every other Mexican's English. But Triple H has gone to the next level and kind of just really placated the English second language talent, and just kind of going to give them the captions or whatever and try to find a way around this. But Dragon Lee is fucking good. To me, he's the best one, that was unsigned by WWE. This guy he's the real deal. He popped up on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, maybe over 6 months ago, where he got beat up by his own brothers and unmasked, and then they didn't do anything to further the storyline. But clearly, this is a great deal. But having FTR lose to Dralistico and Dragon Lee, and then for Dragon Lee to immediately say, well, I guess I'll sign with WWE, is absolutely hilarious. And feels like something that can only really happen to AAA. For starters, I'm pretty sure that match cranked the Dralistico Dragon Lee versus FTR match. I'm pretty sure that match was very good. I can't wait till it pops up either on Lucha Blog or pops up on the AAA YouTube channel so that I can actually watch the match actually occur. But this is the first big WWE signing in a long time that I've been very excited for. And I know that most people are not going to get it. They're going to look at it and say, Mongo was talking about work rate. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes that's all I can. Sometimes that matters. All right. So Dragon Lee is an incredible performer. And if you're talking, they have to eventually move away from Rey Mysterio. And I think Dragon Lee, he's not quite as big a star as Mystico was. He's nowhere near Mystico. But if WWE can take a guy like Dragon Lee, who's on the cusp of being a top tier luchador, just needed a little bit of a push, and it seemingly that Conan wasn't going in that direction with him. He was clearly going with Vikingo and Laredo Kid and doing a little bit more with Bandito. And, Dragon Lee is kind of going to get lost in the shuffle. It seems to me that him jumping to WWE is great for his brand. It's great opportunity. This was a guy who was pushed pretty heavily for a short time in New Japan. He is very good. And I don't know if he's coming straight to the main roster. I don't know if he's going through NXT. I don't know what they're doing yet. But I'm very excited for the Dragon Lee WWE thing, and FTR losing the tag team championships to Dralistico and Dragon Lee is just goes to show that FTR are likely maybe they are also on their way back to WWE. Who knows? But them losing, it honestly kind of sucks. It seems like everything is being taken away from them all at one time. So I don't know, man. Fear the reprisal, I guess. Anyway, thanks for everybody who listened to this. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for everybody who wanted me to get well. I am back. And I'll talk to you guys later. Maybe we'll get into this thing a little bit more on the live stream.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.